Good day, poker peeps. This is Sky with Smart Poker Study, coming at you with a Flopzilla Pro range saving video. So you can see on the screen, Flopzilla Pro, Excel itinerary, and a little hand that we'll go over in just a little bit. So I often get questions from intrepid hand readers, Poker Forge students, my one-on-one students, people who listen to the podcast. They see these videos, right? And they see all of the different ranges that I have. And they often ask me for my ranges because they don't want to get it wrong when they're hand reading. They want to know that they're using the right 30% raise first in range, the right 50% calling range. But what I always tell them is there is no right range. Your saved Flopzilla Pro ranges are what you think your average opponents play. That's all it is. So when we look up here at a 30% saved range that I have, this is what I think the average player who calls it about 30% of the time, this is what I think they play. And that's based on my history with playing with my players, right? I play on sites like Ignition Poker and America's Card Room and Carbon Poker. Well, if you play on, I don't know, 888 Poker, on PokerStars, on WSOP New Jersey or whatever, you're going to have a different experience. Your opponents are going to play not completely differently, but possibly differently than my opponents play. So these are the ranges for my opponents. So I tell them, really, it's what you think they play. So I never send anybody my saved ranges because you should be taking the time to create your own ranges. Not only does it help teach you or teach yourself how to utilize Flopzilla, right? Creating ranges, saving ranges, running equities and stuff. But it's just also good for your own hand reading and hand reviewing when you enter ranges that you think your common opponents play. So these ranges for me, they're population tendencies at the sites that I play on. And saved ranges are just a starting point. Let me show you an example real quick. So we've got this hand over here. I have ace-4 offsuit. Fold, fold, I open, raise, small blind folds, big blind decides to call. Now, as you can see, I've already got the hand going over here. I have ace-4 offsuit for myself, and I'm assigning him first this 30% calling range. And why am I doing this? Well, first off, if we look at this player's call percentage, call a 2-bet in the big blind, 28% right here. So that 30% makes sense as a decent starting range. Now, let's leave the hand for a little bit and let's just focus on Flopzilla for now. So you can see our ace-4 offsuit equity versus the first 30% calling range. We have 45.4%. Now, let's take a look at this range number 2. If we hover over it here, you can see the queen-10 offsuit and the jack-10 offsuit disappear, and the suited kings and another 5-4 suited get added down here. So it's still the same 396 combos, still a 30% range, but let's double click it, and you can see our equity goes up from 45.4 to 45.8. The smallest equity jump, right? So just that one small change, removing some offsuits and adding some suited stuff and a weaker hand right here, gave us just a slight bit more equity. But really, in the long run, that tiny change from 45.4 to 45.8, it's really not going to make a world of difference in the long run. Let's look at this third range right here. Well, this one removes the king 10 offsuit, as you can see, and it adds those suited queen 7, jack 7, and 10 7. Let's double click it. 45 point, basically the same, 8%, right? So you can see how removing some offsuit hands right here and then adding some suited really didn't change much at all. And that's why you don't have to be precious with the ranges that you save in Flopzilla Pro, nor the ranges that you assign. Because whatever range that you assign your opponent first, you always have to remember to play the player. Like, think about it. We have 1,000 hands on this player. Why would we assign him just our standard 30% range? We know too much about this player to just give him a population tendency range. So our job is to first assign the closest range by percentage, cool, 30% right here. Tailor it by asking ourselves, what is he doing this with? And we need to use all available information to actually adjust or tailor this range to what we think this actual player is calling with. So what kind of information can we utilize? Well, of course I have it anonymized for Villain55, but I know his name. I have 1,100 hands on him. Super big history, right? So like I said, we're going to start with that 30%, the basic population tendency 30% range. But let's take a look at some of his stats right here. Well, he calls the 2-bet 28% of the time. He 3-bets 4.6% of the time. Kind of interesting right here. We haven't seen 3-betting versus the button. It's been 0% in the big blind. 0 out of 28. Pretty interesting. So I'm happy keeping these strongest hands as his 3-betting range. He might actually call with the ace-king offsuit. If he has not 3-bet in 0 out of 28 times, maybe he uses that as a calling hand. Let's keep that one in, but let's give him these 4 3-betting hands, which means, of course, we keep them out of his calling range. And that just bumped up his range for a little bit, but that's okay. Let's see what else we know about this player. Well, we made a tiny little raise. He only had to call 1 big blind more. Players like this can often call with this kind of stuff too. Just because it's suited, he sees the magic in those flush potential hands. And look, he V-pips overall 30% of the time. It would make sense when he only has to defend 1 big blind that he's calling at least that 30%, right? These kinds of hands do make sense. Maybe we even think, because we know this player, he can call with those. Awesome. So we've expanded that range a little bit. We started with that basic 30. Now we're at 34 because we're playing the player. We are assigning him a range that we think he would play. Just the fact that it doesn't matter which of these 30 I started with, even if I started with the 30% that didn't even contain all these offsuit aces, I would still build it out the same because, like I said, I'm playing the player. Now, another key idea right here that we need to take into account is prior history with the player. So let's open up the note editor right here. 3-bet blind versus steals with jacks. Oh, well, we had included jacks in his calling range. Let's take that out. We've seen him do it before with jacks. We made a tiny bet. We could be stealing with 7-6 offsuit, which he doesn't want to let us see a free flop with 7-6 when he has pocket jacks, right? So let's assume he is going to 3-bet this one. But I will keep 10s or better just because we haven't seen it yet, and sometimes players are squeamish with hands like 10s, right? Called to 2-bet from the blinds. King 10. Okay, ace 10 offsuit. Those are in his range. King 8 off. Whoa, he's willing to call with King 8 offsuit in the blinds? Okay. Queen 10 offsuit. Well, good. We got that one in, so we're good right there too, right? But let's go ahead. If he can call with King 8, he can probably call with King 9 as well. So let's keep those ones in. So we expanded a little bit more to 35.7, almost 36%. And then bam, we're playing the player right here. Now at this point, we have 47.7%. If you remember originally, I think against this first range, we were 45.4%. So because we expanded his range, our ace-high hand picked up a little bit of pre-flop equity right here. And then so we're not going to go through the rest of the hand, really. Because the whole point behind this was you need to play the player. It does not matter what your saved ranges are. Enter it in and then tailor it based on your opponent. So I want to invite you to check out my brand new course, the Flopzilla Pro course. You can learn to use every single aspect of Flopzilla in this course. 6 different lessons, 12 different videos, including the bonus content, 3 3/4 hours, almost 4 hours of Flopzilla Pro tutorial action. And it's not just me demonstrating this stuff. I mean, that's what I'm doing in all the videos. But I created them specifically as do as you consume videos. So what you're going to do is watch a video, follow along, do exactly what I do in Flopzilla Pro. And that's what's really going to teach you how to use the program. And then along with all the videos, you get a 19-page workbook with an answer key. Every exercise that we do in the videos, you're going to repeat those in different ways within that workbook. I guarantee this Flopzilla Pro course will turn you into a Flopzilla Pro. Get it by going to smartpokerstudy.com/Flopzilla Pro course. I'll see you there.